Hello, hello. This is a review of Call of Duty Warzone, the latest battle royale from our buddies at Activision Blizzard. And this is actually the game that I'm going to be working on, which is very exciting for me because this video is one of the last times I'll be able to publicly speak on it before I am sworn to silence, as normally happens when you start to work on a game. You can't really talk about it publicly. But here is where I can chat about what I think about the game and where I think it has opportunities for improvement. And hey, maybe I'll even get to work on some of those features and help fix them. So, I would say that I have a lot to say on this game. I could talk about it for hours, and my first review took half an hour, so I'm going to redo it right now, and hopefully we're going to get it done, and I'm going to say less, and I'm going to say it faster. So, I like this game. I think it's very good. I think it's a 5 out of 5. I think it's by far the best battle royale on the market. I think it's also had incredible, innovative game design with respect to things like the Gulag and things like the armor plates. Just a lot of really smart decisions that have allowed the game to evolve the genre in a way that I think is very positive, taking learnings from other milsim in the genre and in general just creating a better experience. However, the game has some really big problems, particularly around, I would say, the ergonomics and what might be considered a bit of gameplay engineering in terms of control design. So this is obviously something I'm going to be focusing on regardless, because it's my discipline, and a gameplay engineer is going to notice a lot more gameplay engineering problems than other problems. But there's a lot of things in this game that struck me as just obtuse and strange and silly. So I have to say that the default controller design, first of all, you can't customize the control layout. You can only choose between 3 or 5 preset options, which is terrible, particularly because one of the most important things for you to be able to do in this game is to ping, which I believe by default is mapped to like one of the D-pad characters. A terrible decision. Clearly, when you're in a 2-person match or 3-person match, when you have a teammate, you want to be pinging all the time. This could be fixed by if you hover over an enemy, it automatically pings. I don't think that would be too much of a bummer, or maybe that's an add-on or something, I don't know, or a perk, I don't know. But the thing is that to have to go down and push this button while I'm trying to aim is ridiculous. Clearly a ping should be on one of the triggers, and actually that has been done. So one of the tactical layouts has a ping on the trigger. So for example, it is on the left bumper, but this is tragically placed because to zoom in is the left trigger, and then to ping is the left bumper, which means you would need to translate your finger from zooming in to now pinging, which would cause you to zoom out every time you wanted to ping. It sounds ridiculous. It is ridiculous. This was a terrible design decision. It should clearly be right bumper, so that if you're zoomed in, instead of shooting them, you could ping them, right? I go tap to shoot, I go tap to ping, or something like that. Now, there is a problem there, because if you remove the utility from the RB, where are we going to put it, right? And so there is a limitation here where we only have so many different buttons, but I do think pinging, particularly when you're not a solo match, is one of the most important things to have there. And so the Xbox Accessories app, which I can pull up here, let's be quick about it. Xbox Accessories does allow you to remap the controller, and that's really the only way you could do it, unfortunately, because we are a little bit limited. So that's what my remap controller looks like, and so I've moved the ping to the RB, and then I also have sprint on the LB, and for mobility, I have different controls mapped to the joysticks, which I think are way better with respect to getting us to move around. Clearly, we've learned a lot from... yeah, I'll just skip all that. But I will say that players almost always have a better idea of what the control setup should be than the developers, and I think we've learned that from a very classic example like WASD, maybe something more recent like, what is it called, the clutch control setup, where you have your fingers touching the A and B. And we should trust them to remap the controllers, and there's no reason why a AAA game coming out from Activision Blizzard shouldn't allow you to do so. Particularly because if I remap my A button to my R3, then every time I want to go through a menu, I have to push R3, which is so frustrating. Okay, so that's enough ranting on that. The default controls I think are very bad. And then there's just other controls with accessibility with respect to certain items that I think it doesn't make any sense. So for example, with the spotter scope, if I pull up the spotter scope, I have to hold down that button for the duration that I want to use the spotter scope, which is denying me of an essential digit, potentially. It's terrible, right? It should just be toggle on, toggle off, or for you to have the ability to set that, if it's toggle on, toggle off. Silly, very silly. This game has a ridiculous amount of bugs. It crashes to desktop constantly. I'd say out of every 6 or 5 games, I am crashing to desktop, or there's some sort of other bug that's just ruins my game. Constantly, I'm frustrated by this game. And also, there's a lot of cheaters in this game. Okay, so it is not, I mean, I'm seeing it all the time on the influencer videos. As always, you know, when I'm playing a game, whether it's a single player game or a multiplayer game, I want to see what people are, what does the experience look like at the top echelon of play. So for single players, I'm looking at what does the speedrun look like for the game? Are they playing the game in a very different way than me? Often that's the case. Speedrunners are going to use wall hacks. They're going to use special abilities I didn't know about, and they're going to just be able to execute way faster than me. So I want to understand what they're doing in order to make that happen. In a multiplayer game, it's a similar situation where I want to see what is the top kill record in the game. What are they doing? How are they fighting and stuff? And I'm consistently seeing with all these influencers videos that are things like, ooh, I had a hacker in my game, or got second place, but then a hacker killed me, or I had a hacker on my team. What was that experience like? And that's embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. It sucks. It sucks to be working on a game where these cheaters are having such a big influence, and it's really embarrassing. There's nothing more to say about that, and I know anti-cheat code is not fun to write, or at least I don't think it is, and it's also not easy to write. But I think this game needs some battle eye. Seriously, it's really not a good look. And then yeah, it's just bugged a lot. For example, I love this game design idea. I thought it was very smart, where you have a picture of a place in the map, and you have to go to that place in the map and collect the intel. I thought that was awesome. I love that challenge. I think it's a lot of fun, but it never worked for me. Like, I did it 3 times in a row, picking up the intel, and it never registered as completing the challenge. Sucks. With respect to traditional game design, it's very important that we don't ask the player to remember too much information. Okay, we don't want them to have to remember how many how many bullets did I shoot. Sometimes can be a little frustrating, though. I think in some realistic games it makes sense. But in this case, oh boy, there's a lot of memorization that's put onto the player, and it's ridiculous. For example, I don't know what the cost of things are at the buy station. The only way to do that is to go to the buy station and stop like an idiot for seconds at a time, trying to say, oh, what could I afford, right? There should very clearly be a way to just quick look up that information. What can I afford? You know, go to a menu maybe, and then, you know, everything that I could afford is in green. Everything that's red is not in green, and I can mark a buy station to go make a purchase. Why is that not in the game? I have to memorize that the armor plate bundle is 3,500 and the UAV is 2,500 and the redeploy is 4,000. These are all random numbers anyway, right? It's very, and some of they're round roughly, right? But it's very hard to memorize 10 different values. It's silly. We should not be putting that onus on the player. Additionally, if I add my loadout, I can't tell what perks I have active at any given time. What if I forget? Oh, do I have cold-blooded on? I don't know. There's got to be a way for you to check that. It's very frustrating. Similarly, what attachments are on my gun? I can't tell you how frustrating this is as a new player. I pick up a gun. I'm like, oh, wow, this is really cool. What kind of gun is this? What attachments do they have? Clearly, this person has kitted it out in a way that I think is awesome. I'd love to know, what scope is this? There's no way to check that, and there really should be. I should be able to push pause and just see what my loadout is, so I can start learning what the different guns feel like, and what does it mean to have a gun that has a monolithic suppressor versus a rear stock. I can't do that if I'm guessing. Because what is the iteration time then? The iteration time is, let's see what this feels like. Change the stock, now play a new game, go through a 2-minute loading menu, fight the match for 5 minutes, get my loadout drop, and now I'm holding the gun. What? That's the fastest I could go test out a new weapon? That's insane. It's ridiculous, right? There needs to be a faster way for me to check how that feels. And I think there is a way that you could go into custom matches, but I don't know if that's available in the Warzone. I think that might be exclusive to if you have the multiplayer product, which is a little frustrating. Additionally, there's these gun variants. So, for example, there's something called the Berliner or the Witching Hour or the Viper. There's all these different guns which are base weapons, but with modifications, specific modifications added onto them. So the Witching Hour is a 50 cal with, I think, a thermal sight. Okay, so why? Like, that's so frustrating to remember that. My buddy, he says to me, "What gun do you have?" I say, "I have the Witching Hour." He says, "That's not a gun." No. What kind of sniper is it? HDR, 50 cal. Like, it makes communication much harder. It should if you want to have a fancy, cute name, Witching Hour in quotation marks, but then in parentheses maybe 50 cal with thermal. You know, like, I should be able to know what attachments are on the gun at any given time. I don't understand why that's not the case. I think it's so frustrating. Picking up guns is hard. Okay, let's talk about gameplay interactions. Picking up guns is not easy in this game, and it's something that's so essential that I think it needs serious look at. And there's two reasons why. The first reason is because just pushing the button is difficult. Okay, so the pickup button is X. I don't think that's a poor mapping because it's not something that's super used. However, it is overlaid on reload, which I think is problematic because it's not X to pick up a gun, it's hold X to pick up a gun. And that hold, I think, is seconds too long. I think it should be a depress in order to pick up the gun. And I think there should maybe be some more contextual AI to determine whether or not we should have a reload. So, for example, if I shoot, I ran out of bullets and I shoot again, that might be a good time to reload the gun. However, I don't think I should have to hold the button to pick up a gun. I think it should be way faster than that. Maybe if I am currently on top of a gun and I push reload, then I pick up the gun immediately versus reloading. I mean, I would prefer really any of this to having to hold down the button. I don't like that at all. Additionally, so that's the first reason. It's way too hard to hold down the button in order to pick up the gun. I find it's not fast enough. I've lost a lot of gunfights because I haven't been able to pick up stuff fast enough. It's very frustrating. The other thing I want to gripe on is the second problem, which is that sometimes the guns are all on top of each other. And this has happened all the time, and I see streamers complain about this all the time, and it needs to be addressed. It shouldn't be something that we accept as a problem, which is that if I am trying to pick up a gun and there's like 3 other guns right on top of it, I'm constantly seeing the shitty gun instead of my gun that I want to pick up. 2 fixes. First option, we have no guns fall on top of each other. This is not hard to do because it's done whenever a player dies. They spread out the loot. Fortnite does this amazingly well where they have the loot sort of like fall away. Really well done there. That's excellent code. I think we should explore something similar. It could be something as simple as, hey, if I'm going to put down this weapon, let's check if there's a weapon in my radius. If there is, hey, you know what? Let's do a 40 raycast, north, south, east, west, 1 meter. Check whether or not I go through a wall. If so, we don't want it to push a gun through a wall, so we're not going to do that. But if not, is this 1 meter south of the current location occupied? And if not, then let's place the gun there. Or you could do something with collisions where you slowly push it apart. But I don't know if the physics system is as strong there. So yeah, I mean, that would be great. Or even simpler, if I am next to a loot pile and I've got a heads up UI item, right, that shows me you're currently choosing to select the pistol, I should have a button on that menu. Maybe it's the down, maybe it's something silly on the D-pad, like a left or right on the D-pad, which never gets used anyway, and that will cycle through the next available gun that I could pick up within this pile. Is that not a great idea? I don't understand why it's so frustrating, because I cannot tell you how many times I've been trying to pick up my armor plates and I'm picking up my pistol. There's no reason the player would ever want to pick up a pistol if they have a primary assault weapon, with the exception of they completely ran out of bullets. And even then, I don't know if players would honestly do that. The pistols are so bad in this game. Okay, so those are complaints there. Just a few bonus bad design decisions, I think. The preview of the gun sight, when I'm designing my kit and I look at the different gun sights, I'm getting a preview of what it looks like in third person. Terrible. I should be able to see what it looks like ADS, because that's what matters for a gun sight. Nobody cares what it's going to look like from the side view when I'm choosing the sight for a gun. You can look at the sight for a gun when you jump into the reticle screen, but it's a whole different menu. It should just be from the very beginning. If I choose VLK versus thermal optic, I should see what that looks like ADS. What else? Oh my god, what an amazing design decision to have the plates similar to Doom. There's a fly here and it's just annoying me. Doom 2016, what do we see? When you shoot an enemy, he pours some health out of him, right? Love that. I think Devil's Daggers did something similar. It's beautiful. It's a great game design decision because it really supports aggressive gameplay. And I've seen that at top echelon when I see the pro players fighting. They're getting these 50 kill matches. They're drilling down on a player, then they're going to his body and they're like, give me plates, refueling. Now they're fueled up again and they could bring that fight again and again and again. It's really supporting aggressive gameplay. Excellent design decision to give the players health that they drop, which is in the form of plates. Very smart. There's no spectating in Gulag. I gotta say, I cannot give a damn whether or not I throw a rock at some random player who's fighting in the Gulag. If I die and my other buddy's still in the match, I want to see his gameplay. That's the most compelling thing for me. I want to see what is he doing. I want to be spectating him. I don't want to be walking around a Gulag looking at some other random Joes fight each other. There should definitely be a picture-in-picture mode here where we have a video display of maybe our top left corner of our buddy competing against his other people, to have that spectate window while we're in the gulag essentially waiting. Additionally, I shouldn't have to wait in the gulag if my buddy's at a buyout station and he has the 10K at hand. Why should I have to go to the gulag, die in the gulag, go through all those menus in addition to what could possibly be a wait period for many seconds waiting for my time in the gulag to come up, when my player at any time can just buy me and get me to drop in immediately, right? The fact that I have to wait through that is silly. But the gulag was a great iteration nonetheless. Recon drones can't go through windows. I went to the top floor of a building and all the windows were still intact. I activated my recon drone to jump out of a window and go spy. And guess what? The recon drone can't break through a window. So I'm stuck in the top floor of this building like, oh shit, all I can recon is my own feet. It sucked. And whenever you have a player experience that really sucks, you have to think, okay, like, is this the player's fault? Is this the design fault? And I think in this case, it was squarely in the design fault. My recon drone should be able to go do stuff. It should be able to break through windows, I think. Additionally, I saw that there was a streamer who played, and he got ping spammed a lot because he was joining in a solo queue, but with Phil, so he had randos on his team, and when the rando died, he just constantly kept spamming this guy with, hey, redeploy me, redeploy me, redeploy me, and that not only gave him a lot of visuals on his screen, a lot of visual clutter, but it also was annoying as hell because it kept doing a sound like redeploy, redeploy. Or whatever it was, a ping. It may have been just a diegetic sound, but it sucks, right? It sucks. And so we need to always be looking at the player experience. When does it suck and how can we fix that? And I think if there's a player who's spamming that redeploy button, then we need to be able to fix that. Okay, 16 minutes in, we're moving a lot faster on this design. Let's see, what else do we have? Wow, amazing map design. The best I've ever seen in a Battle Royale by far, I think. Maybe there's a lot more creativity going on in, I think, some areas with... No, I won't even say that. I think I have to say... many times in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, I found myself running solo, getting stuck out in the middle of nowhere, and I'm just sort of like running like, oh, like what am I going to do here? Like I don't have any vehicles near me, or I'm dying in the smoke. That happens way less on this map. I think it's because it's much smaller, and I think because Warzone does a much better job of blending topographies faster, right? There's these giant urban sprawls right next to these little farm cities, and it's done in a way that feels honestly very realistic at any given time when you're looking at a cityscape, and I think it's so well done. It's very well done. The maps feel great. There are some areas where the maps just weren't done, right? There's areas in the gulag where you can't jump through floor-to-ceiling windows, which is just dumb. It's kind of silly. Additionally, there's parts of the map where I get a call out. It says, for the Halloween event, it said you have to go collect crates in the gulag. There is no gulag on the map, but on the map, there is a section marked prison. And so it should have been in the prison, not the gulag, because the player from the map view doesn't know what the gulag is, right? It's not very clear. They'd have to know to go to the prison, and then the bottom of the prison's a gulag, which is, again, player information that they shouldn't have to come up with on themselves. There are some parts of the map where you can get stuck out, where the mobility isn't great, and I think those could be addressed and could be improved. I will definitely say that. It's a good game. I have to say, this is what I love about the gunplay in this game is that it really does provide a compelling reason to use any of the guns. There is a use for shotguns. There is a use for submachine guns, assault rifles, sniper rifles. Not really handguns, IMO. I do believe you should be able to customize the handgun you drop with. Is that a crazy idea? I think it is, but I think it's a fun idea nonetheless. So if I work really hard, I could get the Magnum to start with, and that could give me maybe a one-hit kill if I fight somebody in that first second of the battle. I think that could be pretty awesome. Otherwise, I think the pistols are just a waste of time. They're not doing anything in this game. Maybe they have relevancy in the gulag, but I don't see that I'm often using the pistol in the gulag anyway. Not super happy about the pistols. There are other games where the pistols remain just as compelling as always, right? CSGO. Pistols, always going to be part of the meta. They're compelling, you know. It's just something to think about. Just something to think about. I think that about wraps it up for my thoughts on this game. It's a very strong game. I would highly recommend it, and I do think it's one of the best in genre today. But with that being said, a lot of these excellent design decisions are in some ways shadowed by some poor design decisions. I think the ergonomics needs serious readjustment, or just customization. I think that would be enough so that we can stop complaining. There's a lot of people who feel compelled to buy these special controllers that have paddles on the back for $100, $200 a piece. I think that is sad that we have to resort to that. I think there is an opportunity for us to fix the controller design, and I think my remap has done a lot to get towards that, but I think in general, there's a real problem there. And then I think again, if it's not obvious, this game has so many bugs. It's really, really buggy, and I hope that over the future it can be more and more refined. It's been out a while, which is a little concerning about how deeply these bugs may be entrenched, but I'd love to see improvement there. And hey, maybe I'll have the opportunity to work on some of the stuff and make it a bit better. And let me know if you have comments or suggestions. I do need to get a little bit more studied in the milsim genre. I would love to be playing more of these COD games, so that's something I'd like to address. But yeah, are there other games you think I should be playing? Should I be playing Arma? You know, should I be playing more PUBG in order to get reference for these games? I think I'm a little bit out of the loop in terms of the shooter genre. I think the gunplay in this game is very strong. I don't know if it's stronger than Rainbow Six Siege, and I certainly don't think the gun feel is anywhere compared to the Battlefield staples, because I feel like in Battlefield, when you shoot the gun, you really feel the weight behind it. Additionally, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the guns feel that way as much in this game, but I do think that this game provides guns with a greater equality of utility, because I do feel like there's an option to use every single gun in this game, where I feel like in other games some guns just suck. Additionally, and this is actually something I was asked in my interview, they said, hey, you know, what's the biggest change you would make, you know, bringing a change from another game? And I said, you know, and I still believe this is probably one of the most poignant feedbacks, is that the progression system is really not great. The meta, I think, is really not great. Just the way it's designed, like, there's no player authority with respect to when things are unlocked, really. It's just sort of like, this is the first gun you unlock, and this is the second gun you unlock, and this will unlock when you're at this level. I definitely believe we should be pushing that onus onto the player, because that is gameplay, goddammit. That is gameplay to choose what you want to unlock, and that's compelling gameplay. It's some of the most compelling gameplay in games which are structured around a meta, and all of that is being thrown out the window in this game. What does that mean? Well, we could look at Legends of Runeterra, which is a frontrunner, I think, of the CCG space right now, and for good reason, because it has an excellent meta surrounding shards, and this idea that you earn shards, and when you have these shards, you can choose what you want to invest them into. So if I want to fully kit my Kilo gun, I want to give it the VLK scope, I want to give it this nice skin, I should be able to do that in a soft currency economy without having to grind on just the Kilo. And that could also afford me the opportunity to play with guns I'm never going to play with, right? If I have to play and get 100 kills with a gun I've never played with before in order to get the scope that I want to play with, I'm super de-incentivized to play with that gun because I know the default scope sucks, maybe. Just a comment. I do think it's fascinating, you know, you learn a lot of things when you see the top players play, and I was fascinated to discover that the top players, they don't use scopes. They don't use scopes. They'd rather have all the other components on the gun to fill out the slots, and I think that's interesting. And I think the idea that you can only have 4 slots on a gun is very nice. It's a compelling design decision to ascertain the trade-offs between the two. I do think that the daily challenges don't do enough to incentivize a differentiated play. For example, I don't know, Rainbow Six Siege I think does this much better with respect to, hey, get 5 kills with shotguns this day, and you get a big reward. I think they do a much better job with that. Where I think with this game, it's often like, I don't know, pick up open crates, which you're going to do anyway. You know, it's not really incentivizing, I think, a strong risk for a reward. And so I don't think the gameplay compel is very strong there. I find the most fun in this game when I'm playing solo against teams of duos, you know. I find that I get into a lot more exciting gunfights. I have done solos a lot as well, though, and when I get wrecked with against these 2-player teams, I do go to solos, and I have won a Battle Royale before as well, so I'm happy with that. I'd say my average, when I'm playing a good game, like I'll get maybe like 6 kills, and I feel pretty strong about that. And I've also been playing duos with my co-housemate as well, and so that's been a little bit of fun having Peter drop in with me. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about this game. It's a very good game. I'd recommend it. It's a very strong game. But with that being said, there's a lot of room for improvement, and so I'm excited to work on the team and hopefully work on some of these fixes. All right. I could go on forever. I really can, but we're going to stop here.